Okay, today's just gonna be kind of like a blinkers and thinkers. I don't expect this video to stay in one spot, and I don't kind of want it to. I want it to just like float and be kind of conversational, but like not really, because I'm monologuing and I'm just going on and on. Uh, for legal reasons, blinkers and thinkers is just a joke. I really don't care for structure in this one. It's my podcast. I don't give a shit. The other week I had the realization that I guess a lot of like wine moms or a lot of um other people, other like specific types of leftists will come to the conclusion of when they say, "Oh my goodness, we shouldn't be living like this. This isn't the way that we should be living," right? That's your primitivists, that's your naturalists, that's your I don't want all these chemicals in my food because that's not the way that God designed it or something, right? That's even the Christian atheist, not Christian atheist. What? That's even the Christian anarchist perspective that like are we trying to organize the world in with like people hierarchies when God is the only natural hierarchy that is, right? And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And it's like, wait, the other first two are kind of a little bit strange because like putting everything back to nature probably isn't going to solve everything. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be living in a hunter gatherer society. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know any people who do. And if you're a primitivist who like genuinely wants to live as a hunter gatherer, um, kudos to you, cause like that's bravery that I don't have. But in on that same vein, I still do want to live in a society that like lives on the same fundamental like structure as these communal hunter gatherer societies did live in, right? I want to live as the evolved human rather than the waywards backwards, like completely off track, completely like confused, overcomplicated systems of governments and taxes and um judiciaries and legislation and like all that bullshit, right? All that confusing political like science that they made up to try and like fill in every um like role that usually God just plays, right? It's like no wonder we ended up so fucked. No wonder. It's because we're trying to play God. What if we just let God organize our societies? What would that look like? What if we just like organized our societies organically? What if humans just like restarted? How do you think we would develop? I think if it wasn't for like the first person to say, "Hey, um this like little area of like land, this like area is mine. You can't touch it. I can't. I'm not gonna let you. I'm just gonna say no." Right? The first person who did that, or the first person who said, "Oh wow, look at all this food that we have. Wow, and it's planted right next to my house, and I do all the harvesting, so it's all mine." Right? And then other people come in and start harvesting, but it's like, no, it's still mine because I did all the harvesting. And wait, actually, it's also my property. It's my property. The first people to do that in ancient societies were the people that damned us. Private property might have been the apple in the Eden in the Garden of Eden, guys. um, in terms of the Garden of Eden and that story, I do think Um, I wrote something about it earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Here. The fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil was obviously the actual knowledge between good and evil. The fact that animals don't really know the difference between good and evil, and they just like live their lives as like, oh yeah, that's just how it is, right? If you get like, if you're a Greenland shark and you get completely murdered and like torn to shreds by a pack of killer whales, that's just life. You're cool with that. You're good. You don't really care. The difference, knowing the difference between good and evil, is like the thing that damned us, the thing that put us on like a terrible path. But I also think there's another contender for original sin that permeates through a lot of human culture and has emerged as the single greatest lie that the human race has ever told and perpetuated. So much so to the point where they may call me crazy for suggesting that this thing isn't just natural and that human, natural human society, a lie so repeated that we assume it's a fundamental law, a lie that promotes sin, birthed money. I don't know what that means. And and the evil artificial systems of oppressions that we exist under and use against one another. A lie that damns all of your descendants because they're destined to believe in it because you believe in it. The myth of hierarchy. Um, Hierarchy is a human-made creation. And I think that is the thing that damned us. I think, um, like I just said, the people who invented private property in ancient societies were the ones who said, um, that I am better than other people. Um, I own more. I have like jurisdiction over these groups of people, and these groups of people can't take my power away just because I said so. Playing this imaginary game of like authority and not authority when it's really all just like kids playing pretend but with real stakes, you know what I mean? It's like kids playing murderer after watching a horror movie but actually using a real knife, you know what I mean? That's what we are. That's what this society is. It's built on a foundation of just like making of saying like, "Hey, you're not supposed to play the game like that. No, we don't play the society game like dictators. That's against the rules." Like that's that's literally how the United States of America sees it. That's why the US always says that China is cheating in the global trade because they just have a command economy. Which is I guess more like the it's more I guess no, it's just less capitalistic. It's less capitalistic because it has a command economy, right? Um, and because it has um, its leadership that is like generally chill, like generally all right. Like I know about the Uyghurs. I know about uh, like Tiananmen Square or whatnot. But like the U.S. has done so much worse and is doing so much worse, right? What we're doing in with El Salvador right now is like 10 billion times worse than whatever the hell um China had done to the Uyghurs. Like n- you, from my knowledge, it was mostly re-education camps, which is gross. But again, we probably did entirely entirely worse than that in like World War II with the Japanese internment camps. Um, so I don't really think there is any like he said, she said here. I think there is kind of just like all governments do bad things and you need to criticize them equally. Um, and I criticize them on the basis that they are governments. I don't think we need governments. W- That's all cops are bastards. All governments are stupid. I don't know. I just think the concept of government is dumb. I haven't given any reasoning as to why yet. I don't know where to start with this without just like explaining communal syndicalism now. You know what? Fuck it. Communal syndicalism is an idea that I have. It's just like it's a vision, it's a plan to overtake the global cap the structure of global capital um from the inside, to plant a seed and to allow that to blossom into a communal life, into communal living where anybody can have free association with anybody else, and they live in communities that are like-minded, that do um, stuff that they like to do as a group together, just there, and they raise their kids together, and they teach their kids, or they send them off to another community that teaches them, um, as like a school community, right? That a community that does that, right? Or you have library community. Every community works as kind of like a library, a resource library, or a service library, right? If you need food, you just go to the restaurant libraries. It's a library economy. It's a gift economy, right? And the way that you develop this from right now, from right here, right now, into like where this could like physically exist in the future, is you take a regular business, just like a job, right? And you socialize it. You make it socialist. How do you do this? Within the capitalist system, within the structure of capitalism, you take the means of production and you um rip it out of the hands of the capital owner. No more boss, and you put it directly into the hands of the workers. You don't need a union to argue for your rights anymore. Now the workers decide in what conditions they work and how the products of their work get distributed, what to do with them. They get to make all those business decisions collectively for the betterment of themselves and for the betterment of the product rather than the bottom line, right? Because the better product they have, right, they collectively understand this, whereas a person might have a harder time understanding this, or as shareholders might have a harder time understanding this, that the better that their product is, the better that their business will stand. And the better that their business stands and is in communication and in parallel with the community and their customers, then the better and the stronger and more and longer lasting that their community actually is, right? And thus is the structure of socialism. It's not like a thing that needs to be even countrywide. You can literally do it like right here, right within America, in your thing. You just need to call it making a worker cooperative. People do it with farms. People do it with ice cream shops. People do it with all banking unions. People do it literally everywhere, right? You don't need a boss. Use your union to get rid of your boss and work and get to own and decide the things yourselves. as a group, as a socially. That's just what socialism is. Um, and then from that point, you can communize it, right? You can attach your business or your thing to a piece of land, right? And take your belongings and all your like livelihoods and all of your lives and attach it to that piece of land as well, or maybe a piece of real estate, piece of whatever, right? You could have just like a little land, right? If you're making a farming community, if you're turning a farm from a capitalist structure into a socialist structure with all your friends, and then you like build a bunch of houses right next to it, and then take all the funds from the farm and like put it directly back into the community, um, all of the profits there, right, and use it directly to resource and to provide for everyone within that community, of workers, right? When you communize this socialized structure, then you can have that is communism. Or you can, instead of doing that in a like a physical like area where like you all still even like have your houses or whatnot, you could do that in a like in an apartment. Say like on the first floor you have like a pizza shop, and on the other floors you have like apartments, and all of the people who work at the pizza shop live in the apartments, and you use the money from the pizza shop to pay for all of the amenities within, and to pay for everybody's groceries on the inside, to pay for transportation, to pay for for everything, and people can still get like bits of allowances or whatnot, and they can still, as long as they get to decide, they still have control over their means of production, right? That's you make sure that structure stays in place, right? Now you have communism in America. This is communism, but tied to syndicates. That's why I call it communal syndicalism, because you are now in a syndicate with your coworkers, right? But you are also living communally, right? You go from just that structure straight into communism in America. Then you take these communistic societies, you take these communes, right, and you have them trading resources with one another, right? The the farming community can ship off tomatoes to the pizza community, and the pizza community can provide dinner and food, and stuff to the farming community, right? It's a little like trading structure. They both benefit, and they both um like share freely between them, and that's just that. And they're good. There's The more communities that you add into this structure, the more self-reliant these communities become, to the point where you might not even need a to hire a contractor if there's a construction community nearby, right? To the point where you don't need to hire a technician if you have a electrical engineering community nearby. Um, it's a You don't need to hire a plumber if you have a plumbing community nearby. All of these things, all of these amenities, all of these resources, would be provided, given you can provide something in return as a community. And it would be constant trade and constant this and that. That way, it's like, oh, it's just like everyone's just working together. The system seems to magically structure itself just by like minded people coming together and sharing between them what they have, right? A complex, beautiful, webbed organism kind of comes, instead of us having to build rules around trade and like think about all of these things that need to happen. It's like, no, it just happens. We don't need to like structure ourselves in a specific way. This is just how humans are to be structured naturally. This is the way that we can rebuild that natural structure, where we could have just gone from like, oh yeah, um this communal society. In between them, they have like their clothes making people, and then they have their like hunter people, and it's like, oh, the more people we have, oh, you guys over there, they're the shakatu, and they can that might be racist. Sorry to my indigenous folk. They have like really good hunters. They can just do all the hunting. We can then make all the clothes, and then we can trade between them. And then the more technologically advanced they got, they just reach that same point, and then eventually surpass us in terms of technology and growth and innovation. Um, Instead of that, we got kings and societies and genocides and slaves and all of this, right? And so from as a reaction to that, we're gonna try and revert. We're gonna try and build this using Karl Marx's like ideas of socialism and communism directly into there, right? This is already happening. We're already at the stage where communities are like federated together, but I don't know if they're trading between them or if they're just like, yeah, we work together and we're here for the future or whatever. I don't know. Um, if you want a like a pretty good example of it, Tulsa County, Virginia has the Twin Oaks community. They're probably pretty well known in that area. They produce a lot of produce, and I think they also sell hammocks and tofu. Um, they have some like internet like communications. You can reach out to them, ask any questions. There's probably a good bit of research you could do about them if you're curious about like how that structure um could tangibly look like if my words aren't enough to um describe this reality that we need to be living in. Oh, and then from there, whenever everyone in that like bubble of communities is structured, when everyone in that bubble of communities um is like self-sufficient, when all of these communities don't even need to start selling to the people outside, they can completely shut off trade protectionism, shut off trade with the outside world, except for maybe like clinics, right? Except for like instead of asking the clinic for something in return, now you're like creating surplus. You can like provide for the clinics and just like give them for free, no strings attached, right? Just give them all of the resources they need to just produce or not produce, but to serve medically, right? Um, you do trade protectionism or like do like tariffs or like incredibly mark it up or something, right? To where now because you are all self-sufficient, you can encourage people to join your structure instead of interacting with from the outside. um Make yourselves look super duper appealing to everyone else, right? um and use that to grow, to exponentially grow and expand to the point where you can like create a society that's maybe like a small country sized, to the point where you can then go in and just like overtake everything. And because you're doing this right now and you're trying to get as much press and as much like attention on yourself as possible, so that you can get this word out to like everyone in the whole world, right? Everyone in the whole world knows that this is your vision, knows that this is your plan, knows that this like is like a decent idea, right? When you're blasting yourself out like this, right? And then the government comes and bombs you, you might be martyred, but then again, you're martyred. You know what I mean? When you're super outspoken about your beliefs and then you get move bombed. At least you become the symbol for the future. And other people inspired, or even like they can even just be inspired, even if like nobody gets move bombed, right? As those systems grow all across the world, then they can trade internationally and then really hammer it up and just grow super exponentially, to the point where there is absolutely no need for a government, no need for money, no need for class, no need for hierarchy. This is the superstructure of humanity. This is the structure that humanity needs to gear itself towards. And that's my tangible plan to build a communal society. I hope it made sense. Yeah. N- did I say communal? I meant anarchistic and communal. Whatever. This is my plan for opposing Marxist Leninism. I oppose Marxist Leninism, by the way. Um, but that's not because I think it won't work. I think maybe it could work, and it would like absolutely be like an awesome thing if it did, and I encourage it to keep doing what it's doing. Um, but I also think that Marxist Leninist principles encourage violence. Um, which is kind of gross, and I don't like that. And so I think we can do this peacefully. We can do this in a way that is sustainable. We can do this in a way that doesn't even involve the state. We don't need to have a super state um, in order to build a stateless society. We can just start stateless, and that's all.